Hello and welcome to another Tim Talk podcast by Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Alan Buckley. How are you, Alan?
I'm all good, Jared. And yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. We're getting you back on for another chat, Alan, because you've been on previously where we did a Spotlight Series podcast about your Facebook group that you run. So do you want to give that a bit of a plug?
Yes, so it's Celtic YNWA up on Facebook, and it's aimed on Celtic fans, and it's family orientated group up on Facebook.
And then we've also had you on previously, just on a couple of our regular podcasts, but it's been over a year, so I thought it's a good chance to get you on, and you know, people can have learn a bit about you as a Celtic fan, and then we can, discuss the upcoming season at the end of the podcast. So we'll crack on straight into it. So, how'd you become a Celtic fan, Alan?
I was born into being a Celtic fan. I was reared up in a Man United house, so it's the only one in the whole house to become a Celtic fan. So it's something I have pride in just being the only Celtic fan in the whole house, and just grown up watching Celtic games. I remember if there was a United game, I'd run up to my room and get the Celtic games up on the telly. So that's going back years and years ago.
That's great.
And you even stream them. I remember even trying to stream them could have been difficult years ago. Even the old Sky boxes, big old chubby Sky boxes with cards where you take them in and out.
That's fair effort. That is, so well done. Not becoming a Red Devil. That's all I've got to say.
That's just years ago, Jay. Jared,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's your take on the club structure at present? We have Andrews come in as manager. Do you think that we need a director of football at Celtic?
Well, we survived years without a director of football. I think what needs to happen is the likes of a backroom team. It's like when there's an end of an era, there needs to be a new kind of era. And I think the backroom team is there over a good century now, and it just needs to kind of just move on. And that's what I think. I think that's where Ange's going to struggle. It's going to be the whole backroom team right behind him. I think that needs to change. And that's just my own opinion. A director of football, I heard it. Yeah, it'd be good, but do we actually need it? Probably not. We can do without it. I think it'd be up to the manager if the club let the manager sign them instead of Dermot Desmond, who used to make the signings.
It's funny though, because you said it's your opinion, and the two of us have got different views on this. Like for me, I would have a director of football, but the only reason I would have that is because that person can look at the bigger picture and building pathways to bring our young players and the Colts team coming in, those guys through, get senior experience into the first team. So that's the sort of thing where I think a director of football would come in handy at Celtic, but at the same time, you're entitled to your opinion. You don't think that, and you think it's the back room. So talking about that...
I think it's a bit about, yes, we do need one, but at the club, if you were going to then say a director of football, then you're going to say, are the club still going to make the signings? Are they going to listen to the director of football? And that's the big issue then that comes along.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that's where they need a clear definition of who's responsible for what tasks. But going back to something you just said about the backroom team. So, yeah. Are you referring to Kennedy and Strachan, or are you referring to everyone, including like Stevie Woods and all the strength and conditioning coaches?
Well, I think it's majority. I think it would be Strachan and Kennedy would be my main two, who would change, especially for Ange. I think the rest, the strengthening coaches, Stevie Woods is good. His record speaks for itself, the goalkeeping record, and you look what he's done in the past, Yes, you're going to have fans saying at the minute with the keepers and stuff like that, but that's not down to the goalkeeping coaches. That's down to the actual keepers.
There's a nice saying over here in Australia, you can't polish a turd. So if the goalkeepers we've got are shit, then he can end up that way. So if Barkas, we call him on our podcast Cabbage Hands because he can't catch a ball. But if you've got him and you've got Bain as your top two keepers, there's a bit of an issue there.
Definitely. Yes, and it's kind of strange to think about. A couple of years ago, you had Bain as your number third keeper, and now he's challenging for first spot along with Bartas. It's always a rotating.
It's ridiculous
between the two.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just shows you where are we going forward with Celtic, and where the future is.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but I'm hoping we all know with Ange coming in, it's not going to be a one window solution. Realistically, he's going to need probably 2 or 3 windows. You need this one, you'll need the winter window, and then you'll need another window this time next year to fully have all his players in with backups, because realistically we need starters. We need to have a backup who challenges them, who would ideally be, if you sell your starter, that person steps up to become your new starter and you sign another person to come through. That's what all his teams over here were like. He had a starter and a backup at every position. We don't have that at the moment. So how do you think our recruitment has been over the last 12 to 18 months?
Oh, you're going back over the last 12, 18. I think something being poor, in my own view, because you look at this time last year, you had Celtic fans calling centre-backs and goalkeepers, and okay, we got a goalkeeper, but centre-back, we got Duffy on loan. But we let it out. So many people, if you go on to, let's say, the keeper situation, Fraser Foster, Craig Gordon leave the club, we only bring in one player then, so you had 2 leaving and 1 coming into the club. So the recruitment in that kind of style has been absolutely poor in my own general view. This summer it looks promising. Under Ange, the players that's been brought in, you look at Adaba there, he looks brilliant, and I think he's going to be a big hit with Celtic fans.
Yep, I agree with you on that front. Abada's going to be a good player for us, but yeah, going back 12 months, I thought we had a good window. Let's be honest. I'm not going to, no revisionism here. There's podcasts that if people want to go back and look, you'll hear me saying I thought it was a really good window.
Yeah.
I
still challenged you back then.
Sol, Duffy, there's heaps of, it was a good window, I thought at the time. With hindsight, it's didn't age well. Didn't work well for us, but it is what it is. Like, you're talking about the goalkeepers, but the same situation last year was we put Hendry out on loan, we let Simonovic go, and we only bring in Duffy. So it's the same sort of thing. You're downsizing your squad because we did have a really big squad, but we never signed anyone to fill those holes in the squad.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't think injuries were taken into consideration either. And I think if you were to look on the right mid situation, you look at James Forrest. There was nobody there to challenge James Forrest. You had Fairpong.
Yeah, well, with Forrest, he was one that I didn't expect, Alan, because he's been a bit of an Iron Man for us. Other than Ronnie's last season, he's been very fit for a good 5-year period there. So he was at his best when he had Paddy Roberts challenging him. So either of them could start and the other one's a backup. And now you look at it and go, he's got a Barter there, so that could be the challenger that he needs to keep his spot, which is a great thing. But the other thing is, I've always thought Jamesy would eventually turn into a striker anyway. So maybe that could be a possibility. I think he's a good finisher in the box. I don't know if he has the natural instincts for it, but I always thought, when he debuted under Lenny last time around, so the first time, that there was potential there. He could have become a full-time striker.
It's going to be interesting. He could be. I get exactly where you're coming from. I think kind of just as a striker, but kind of on the edge of the box, kind of. If I think Jamesy would suit as with 2 up front.
Yeah, as a secondary striker, so you have your main guy and then him playing off them. That would work. In the same way Alan Buckley was playing off Edward last season.
Exactly. Yes. That would do pretty well, I think.
So what current players do you think will be moving on in the next 6 months?
Let's start. Bartas has to move on. Has to be a goalkeeper, I think, in my own view. I I think Edward is going to be another one. Sorry to say. I think Christie's going to be another one. Who else? I think Christie, Edward, and Bartas, maybe Ben. Griffiths as well could be a possibility moving on. So you have your big men, big strikers.
There's one more to add to that, Alan. And Champ.
Yes. The Champ, that's the one as well, yes. See him in the Premier League going forward.
I don't know what he could be in the Premier League, but what would his level be?
I'd say a lower league team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The likes of a Brighton or an Aston Villa as a centre defensive mid, what kind of he'd be good as.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it ends up. So that means if all those players are moving on, and we've touched on it already, what are the key priorities to strengthen now?
Well, at the minute, I think a keeper is main priority. A right back is another one. I think a striker as well. And obviously, I wouldn't say midfield. Yeah, I would actually say maybe another CAM with Christie kind of going, and you're looking at Nicham. So maybe we're more in the midfield. We are downsizing, so you have to kind of take that into consideration. Obviously, a striker, I'd kind of like to see Kevin Nesbitt off hips coming in as well.
Yeah, I agree with you on this, but I've said that on a few of our pods that I'd bring him in, but not as Edward's replacement. I'd bring him in as Griffith's replacement.
Yeah.
So that's where he would come in as like your second or your third string striker to develop and make that next step, because I don't see him coming straight in to be a starting, be the main man at Celtic just yet. In the same way that when Scotty McDonald come in, he came in, but he wasn't the main man as a striker straight away.
Yeah, it was development over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you as a Griffiths replacement, Kevin Nesbitt. Yeah.
I think the key priority right now is we need a right back and another centre back. They're the two for me at the moment. And then if Edward moves on, then we definitely need a striker, one or two strikers. We need a left winger, but apparently we're being linked with one anyway at the moment in Christian Lovric out of Croatia. So if he comes in for 4.5 million euro or whatever it is, then that is a very good, very, very good signing, I would say. So, Alan, who would be your all-time favourite Celtic player, other than Henrik Larsson, of course, and why?
Alan Thompson, and always has been. And he's even stands above Henrik Larsson, your Chris Suttons, your John Hartsons. I just loved Alan Thompson. I think it was a story growing up and the way he took on challenges as he was younger. And I think that always just hit home with myself. And I always loved his favourite left foot and his free kicks. And I always just admired Alan Thompson to the fullest.
It's an interesting one. I haven't heard that answer on the podcast before. So, Tomo, quality player. Hadn't thought of that in this sense. This one's so nice. Yeah. So, speaking of that then, obviously, Tomo's your favourite. Who would be your all-time top 5 players that you've seen play for Celtic in your lifetime? Clearly, Thompson will be one of them.
Yes, Henrik Larsson would be probably the next one down under. Alan Thompson, Chris Sutton, as I said, Bobo Balde would be another one. There's Paul McStay I grew up and watched as well.
Yep.
And I'm going to go with Packy Bonner as well.
At least there's a goalkeeper in there.
I had to add a goalkeeper.
You've got 5 plus a bench. There you go. Paul McStay off the bench.
I was even going to trying to do a 5-a-side in my head, so. 2
mids, a striker, a defender, and a goalkeeper. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So what are some of the most memorable games that you've seen Celtic play, and what is so memorable about those games to you, Alan?
The most memorable one was my first ever game. at Celtic Park. It would have been Jackie McNamara's testimonial. It was 0506. And that was my first ever game at Celtic Park, so it always stands out a mile from the rest of them.
Is there any other games, though, other than that stand out to you as well?
Oh, there's a lot. You can go on to the Barcelona, Manchester, United, the Old Trafford one. There's been several different ones. You had the Rangers games as well. Obviously, I wasn't at the Rangers games. Maybe one day I get over and see one.
No, you won't, because Rangers are dead, mate.
Exactly.
Had to. Cheap shot.
I still can't see them. Still can't see them.
Man, you got to be the youngest Celtic Dar I've ever met. Doing that sort of patter.
It's just a force of habit, even saying Rangers now. It's just like you're just used to, if it's a corner shop, you'll always say the name. Do you know that type of way? Even though it might not be true.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like it's like they're trying to sneak the old firm term back in as well. Like you've got all the media, you've got these YouTube shows, you got all this sort of stuff, and it's like, oh, no, upcoming Old Firm derby, and I'm like, it's not. It's a Glasgow derby. Old Firm died in almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
2012.
yeah,
It's almost been 10 years. I remember exactly where I was when that news come through. It was the best ever.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And I remember myself, it was just Valentine's Day, wasn't it? It was happening on February the 14th.
Yep.
Some years ago.
I was driving up to see my sister and my young nephew at the time. Wasn't even 1 year old, and I was driving between Sydney and Newcastle because that's where my sister was living. I was actually near the stadium where Tom Rogic played, where Celtic's on the Central Coast. I was driving near that town and near Gosford, and the news come through, and I was like, yes, how good.
I tell you what, I was down here, you'll be kind of shocked. I was working in a flower shop, and of course, the busiest day of the year is Valentine's Day, so I was out down helping deliveries, and it came in on the radio, so I remember it quite clearly. And I had several people, see what happened on the news. No, watch the news, you'll be delighted. But there you go. Yeah.
Brilliant. The joys of being a Celtic fan, I suppose.
That's it.
All right, so we'll go to the last question about you, Alan, before we talk about the upcoming season. So if you could have Celtic sign one player that you have seen play, other than Messi and Ronaldo, who would it be and why?
Koulibaly.
And why?
He's just a strong physical defender. I think that's what Celtic needs. So I think something like Koulibaly would be ideally. Obviously, his wages don't suit or anything like that. But
we're not talking about finances here. To quote our Aussie Lord and Saviour Ange Postecoglou, we're not talking about wages. He's a football manager. You sign anyone. You're a fan. Sign anyone. Koulibaly, bring him in. He's got a bit of the Bobo look about him too. Happy days.
Yeah, happy days. Exactly. Yeah, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see something like that back to the old physical centre backs. We had the Van Dijk as well. Bobo Ball laid in. So it seems like each year we kind of come up with one good centre back that's real strong and physical.
Well, it's funny you say that because something I've been thinking about a lot is Martin O'Neill days. You look across our team and they were all 6 foot and they were big, strong, and there was like multiple leaders. They all didn't have to have the captain's armband, but you had a bunch of international captains, international vice captains, guys who have been captains at other clubs. Like you bring Lenny in, he doesn't have to be the captain because you've got other guys there doing that role. You've got Chris Sutton coming in. You've got John Hartson coming in. These guys have had captain clubs before or that sort of stuff. So it's just like unbelievable, the size. Malby, those sort of guys. And it's all like, look at the leadership and look at the size, even in the midfield. And then you look at us now and it's like, 5'5" or whatever he is. Abada, 5'7". Kalmak, a generous 5'10" he's listed as. I would say he's probably 5'8",
Yeah.
5'9". So you look at it and go, and then you look at Rangers last season, and they just beat us up in the midfield. And I'll put it down to Aribo, 6'2". You've got other guys in there that are height. Kent, it's got to be like almost 6 foot. They've got size in their midfield. And that's something that I've been thinking about a bit, because I'm like, is that something we need to do? Do we need to bring in a bit more size, like height in the midfield, as well as football ability? Or do we need to bring in people who are bastards, who don't mind leaving studs in people?
Yeah, I think, and again, if you want to look at that, last year you look at the average age. You had an average age of Celtic being about 30 in the squad wise, and you had a Rangers 25. So it's kind of, there's a bit difference. The younger, the fitter. Um, they were a lot younger, and they had experience as well. Compared to Celtic, they did have the experience, but then they had youth, so they didn't have
There's
that
that
kind of
big gap.
middle
Yeah.
break. And that was the gap. That was the little gap in the midfield between Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that element. What we've got at the moment is we've got the experienced guys 30 odd, but then 27, 28 through 30 odd, and then you've got those 18, 19, 20-year-olds coming through. But there's that gap of 22 to 26 sort of range. There should be those guys who have got that 200 first-team games under them that we just don't have.
Exactly. And I think that was the big difference last season.
So, what are you expecting from the season coming up? Let's see some short-term goals in the first 11 fixtures, or whatever it is, where we play.
Jesus, you even have Rangers in that. I think if you were to look at the first 11 fixtures, and then you look at Ange, and hopefully there's a new centre back and a new keeper, because Bartas, to me, is absolutely shocking. And I think if we keep Bartas, there's going to be, like last year, a rotation between the two keepers. Look, I'm going to say the first few features I fancy to be Hearts and so on. I think if Celtic were to go out, it'll be ideal to win them all. But you're going to say, maybe to draw one or two, and maybe you might kind of say, I'd love to say, what happens with the Rangers game? Do you win or do you lose? And it's at Ibrox, and it's going to be Ange's first game, so you're going to say, how's he going to cope with that? And obviously there's going to be new players there as well, and how are they going to live up to that derby?
Yeah, I'm looking at it going at the fixture now, and you've got us versus Hearts away, and then you've got us home to Dundee, then we've got St Mirren at home, then it's Rangers at Ibrox, and then home against Ross County. So in those first, say, 5 games, the 2 toughest games are away.
Exactly.
And then you look at it, we've got Aberdeen, Motherwell and Hibs all away. So that's basically, take St Johnstone out of it, but that's probably the 6 strongest teams on paper, ourselves included.
Then you have Hearts, where Craig Gordon's doing unbelievable.
Yeah.
And have hardly conceded as well. So
that's what I'm looking at, going with probably of the 6 strongest teams on paper, we have the other 5 of that top 6 away from home in our first lot of fixtures. So realistically, I reckon in that first 5 games through to when we play Ross County, I think if we can come out of there with 13 points, we'll be set up very well for the season ahead.
Definitely, 100%.
And that's me saying win all the others, and if we draw at Ibrox, fine. At least they're not pulling any extra points away from us in that game.
Yeah, 100%. I'd go with a draw at Ibrox. I'd settle for the draw. Just not a defeat. Hate defeats. But look, as I said, I think it might be. And I gave my views due to players, and I think time, a lot of fans, and if you have fans listening or watching, you have to always think time takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be down the line that we're going to be looking at, and you kind of say, you go to the January fixture, then you kind of say, maybe Celtic will win that one at Celtic Park, in Paradise. And that's where I kind of see it as.
Yeah. I think it's, I love that. I love you saying there, Alan, though. Time takes time. Perfect. It's what it's going to be, though. It's, it's, I don't expect Ange to come in, snap his fingers, and suddenly, we're flying again and we're going for an invincible treble like what happened with Rodgers. Like, that was lightning in a bottle then. Let's be honest. I don't expect that to happen, but I'm hoping that by the time we get to the last 11 fixtures or get to the split, it's still there to play for. If we blow them out and they fall apart and we're 15 points ahead come the split, fine. I'll be wrapped with that. I'll be doing cartwheels in my house or whatever. But
I'm going to hold it to that one, Jared.
But I'll probably break my neck if I tried. But anyway, but realistically, like if we're not ahead of them by a mile, but if we get to the split, 5 games to go, and it's there to play for, there's like 3 or 4 points in it, then I'll be getting real excited for it because Ange's teams. I've said when I went on Axom and on our pod a few times that it always tends to be second year is better, and that's where I was saying earlier about it's going to be a 3-window job to get all his players in. Like, ideally.
Then you look at Celtic. Then the other side of it is the pressure. You have a rolling contract, just a year rolling contract, so it's a big task. I see where you're at, but then you have to see where the club's at. Is a rolling. And as I said, it's going to take time as well. I see the 3-window gap where you're going to need the recruitment within 3 windows. But then the pressure at Celtic, you must win. And it's a different kettle of fish, realistically.
I actually, having grown up a Celtic fan and been one my whole life and everything, I don't have my doubts. Like, Ange will be fine. Like, once he gets his players in and he's got his squad and the window's shut and there's stability there, I'm still backing him to win it this season. I know he's good enough. He's got the runs on the board. He's won 4 domestic titles over here in Australia. He's won a Japanese domestic title. He's won an Asian Cup managing the Australian national team where every game you've got to win. Now, that's pressure. Playing at home, winning your first ever.
The quarter-final of the World Cup.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jared, that's just... Sorry.
Yeah. And then him managing World Cup against those teams, that's pressure. Like, coming into Celtic Park where you're expected to win, I don't think that'll faze Ange because he expects to win and he's so hard on himself. He's his own worst critic. So us getting on his back is not going to be anything really that he's not already expecting of himself. So it's not like we're bringing in a Ronnie Delia who actually doesn't know what he's walking into and what the expectations are. Ange knows about it. He's been there when he was the national coach, coming to watch Rogic all the time, watching Milligan when he was at Hearts, watching guys like Bozanic when he was at Hearts. Milligan was at Hibs, actually, by the way. Looking at those sort of guys, he'd know what it's all about. So I still think
100%, Jared. And as again, it'll be. I know he knows, and I know you know his record as much as I do, and he's done well, and his record speaks for itself. As again, it will take time, and it might not be the first month or two. You might have a couple of losses here or there in the tough little games, but hopefully they'll bounce back, and hopefully maybe John Kennedy even might guide them to success along. They can gel something together. Just looking at I think the worst thing at the minute under Ange is the style of football in the back line. We go through periods in football matches, and it's not Ange, it's the football players that's actually doing it. It's where they're messing it to the keeper, to the wing back, to the keeper. I think it was Preston. I don't know if you've seen the game against Preston.
Yeah.
And you had Bartask in goal on the right wing, and you had your centre-back covering the goal. To me, it should have been reversed. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's just little things like that, and the sloppiness of the passing. We lost the goal to West Ham due to it last week, and it's just like you just need to stop that, and you need to kind of drive the ball forward, and no doubt Ange will stop that. So, as again, I'd say it'll take a month or two to at least cut that out, and the players where he has his kind of system installed, because let's be honest, he's only in the door, so to get used to a new system is going to take a bit of time as well. So maybe a month or two to the players actually get the whole system as well.
And I'm just going to say what you're saying there, where it's going to take a month or two. If we didn't wait on Eddie Howe, we'd be further along now than where we are. So
100%.
I've given Ange a free hit with the European qualifiers if we lose to Midtjylland, or if we win that but then go out the next round and end up in the Europa League. Fine. That's irrelevant. This season, I want to do well in the Cups and I want to win the league so we go straight in the Champions League group stages next year. That's the priority. And Ange needs to be backed and get his squad, and his teams do concede goals. And they do concede some silly goals at times because his keepers come up into no man's land and play as a sweeper and pass the ball. So you'll find there'll be times where Barkas will be up in just near the halfway circle. And you'll be like, what's he doing up there with the ball? Basically being an extra player to help create the overload. But then or whoever the goalkeeper is, hopefully it's not Barkas. But
can I just say something there, Jared? I'm hoping it's not like Scotland versus Croatia, where you had David Marshall up at halfway and he scored from the halfway line, you know?
It's funny because I see people saying, oh, bring David Marshall in. And I'm like, did you not see what happened in the Scotland game? If Ange wants him playing that far up the pitch occasionally, he doesn't have the legs to get back.
He's a good keeper, but he's then again he can be liable at silly goals at times.
I would rather have kept Craig Gordon than bring Marshall in.
Yeah, so I think another one, and it's like that. It's like I've seen bring in Randolph off West Ham as well because he wasn't getting his game and stuff like that. I've seen people saying it, and just like, no, he's hardly getting a look in. Yes, he's good international club level. He's just letting in silly goals. Do you know?
He's bottling it. You know what he's starting to remind me of? He's getting into Massimo Taibbi territory. You know what I'm talking about with your family being Man United fans.
Yeah.
He'd come in, let a goal go straight through the breadbasket, through his legs and in. And after that, he was just making dumb mistake after dumb mistake after dumb mistake. And there's just no coming back from it.
Exactly, 100%. And I think it's once you make one mistake, it's the conditioning, and that's down to the management. Can he condition and keep a player's head held high? And then again, you look at Celtic last year, and let's say you had the likes of Oyar wanting to leaving, and so many other players. Now, like Anne's saying, is like he's not going to force anyone to stay. If they want to leave, they'll leave. You know, so it's good. I like what Anne's saying straight away, and looks very promising on ahead.
Thing for me with goalkeepers is I like keepers who are a little bit nuts, like they're a little bit not quite right. They will put their head in and cop a boot to the face if need be to save a goal or that sort of thing. And I don't see Barkas doing that. He looks more like an accountant than a goalkeeper. So, and then you got Scott Bain there, and I'm like, I can't see him doing it. Like Connor Hazard's probably the most nuts goalkeeper we've got, and he seems pretty quiet sort of guy.
Yeah, but even with if you look at the three keepers, I'm not a keeper man, so I like to kind of keep an eye on what the keepers kind of do as well. And I'm looking at the flaws of all three keepers, and I'm like, come on, you can do better. That's schoolboy stuff. And it's simple. It goes down to the likes of the goal kicks. going to the balls being kicked out. Bartas, if he kicks it on his right hand side, 9 times out of 10, the ball's kicked out of play. So it's small little errors. The schoolboy errors. It's instead of kicking the ball long, you have a short option. Use the short option and move the ball up the pitch. And it's these little things that Celtic need to and it's not even mess with keeper to the defender, keeper to the defender. It's keeper to the defender, to the mid, and to attacking. My granddad always had a great saying: the best form of attacking games is not playing defensive, is attacking, and that's how you're going to score goals. Even if you're 1-up, you keep attacking, and that's how you're going to win. Even with the balls on the cross, you cross them into the box at an angle between the defender, the penalty spot, and the keeper. 9 times out of 10, the ball's going to end up in the back of the net because they're very hard to defend because it has that kind of curve on it.
It's funny you say that because you keep attacking. Sounds like you're singing from the Ange hymn sheet already, Alan.
I'm gonna like Ange because he is an attacking style manager, as you said it as well. He's not known for the defensive style, and he's not known for the even having key defensive players. It's more attacking the midfield and strikers.
The way
promising.
The way his teams play, there's a nickname they had for him in Japan, which was the Aussie Bielsa. The way his teams tend to play is the best form of defense is attack, and how they'll do it is they'll press you. And as soon as they lose the ball, bang, 1 or 2 guys are on you straight away. And win the ball back quickly. Then your defenders don't have to worry about their positioning. Your goalkeeper can afford to come up and make a pass if need be and then get back into his area. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Yeah. It's exciting times ahead, especially for me, having seen Ange's career progress since 96 onwards. So, yeah, very exciting for me. Looking forward to what's ahead. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to, the season. And I think, we can get our title back, even though some people aren't really giving us much chance at it.
Yeah. And it's strange to think, Jared, it's an Aussie as a Celtic manager.
Oh, it's so weird.
Did you ever think you'd ever see that kind of day?
I put up a post in our Facebook group, in the Celtic Down Under group, and I said, who do you want to be the Celtic manager? If anyone could pick, who would it be? And everyone's putting Eddie Howe and all these guys. I put up like David Wagner. He was my preference, right? Yeah. And one guy, 3 months before Ange was appointed, sorry, no, it wasn't 3 months. It was about, 2.5 months or something, about 10 weeks beforehand, put it up. A guy who's a stand-up comedian over here, Danny McKinley, he's actually commented in the group saying, Ange Postecoglou. And I wrote back, and I just put back laughing emojis like, you're having a laugh, mate. And he goes, nah, seriously, I rate him. Get him in. Only person who called it. And I won't hear from anyone else who said they even knew who Ange was or that Ange would be the right person for it. Even I laughed it off because I'm like, there's no way Celtic could look at an Australian.
Yeah.
So there's only one person that has officially called that, and anyone else who tells you that they called it is bullshitting.
There you go. It's magic, and it just shows that anything can happen in this world, and it's great. So, like, as again, we're sitting here and we're saying, "Oh, Celtic title race and it might be close. We want and 4 or 5 points in an ideal world. That's great, but in the other teams, you need to close a gap of 25. So if you're saying, let's shut the gap 25, so you're kind of saying half of that, which is about 12 points. And that's ideal about 4 games.
The easiest way, Alan, sorry to cut you off there. Easiest way is if we reverse what happened in the derbies last season. That's an 18-point swing straight away. Because they don't get those 9 points and we get them. So that brings it down to a 7-point margin.
Yes, 100%. I see that side of it as well. Well, let's say if we can I think it's going to be a reverse, and I think the likes of Celtic could win at Ibrox, and the likes of Rangers win at Celtic Park. So it'll be the reverse. Instead of winning at your home ground, you kind of win at your away ground.
Yep.
And I think Celtic have looked, and just going on last year's kind of basis, Celtics look more promising away than they did at home with the football. And that was just kind of strange, apart from the Astro Turfs stadium.
Even in the year we did 9 in a row, we looked a bit more confident when we were on the road than at home.
Yeah.
So you look at when we played Lazio at home, and then you compare that to in Rome when we played over there. Our players, you'd think, they'd be a bit more cautious about it because Celtic had never won in Italy, and then suddenly, boom, the guys looked like they were 6 inches taller each, and they were just up and about. It was great to see. So, yeah, I think you're onto something there. Now, last question for you, Alan.
Super.
Leo Connor, Luke O'Connell, Jonathan Afolabi, Barry Coffey.
Jonathan Afolabi.
And there's one other guy that we just signed, Boson Lowell, or however you say it. 5 young Irish guys at Celtic. Which ones of them do you think we could actually see break through this season?
Jonathan Afolabi could be there. Luke O'Connell, maybe latter starts of the season. He's on the fringe, I'd say. It's just they're all kind of on the fringe. There's at least 2 or 3 on the fringe.
Because I'm a big believer in. I think Afolabi's got a good future in him, and I want to see it happen at Celtic. So he's the sort where I'd love to see him get a chance, but the one I think will break through, and that will mean we don't have to spend as much money, or we can buy better quality. If you've got Leo Connor breaking through at right back, because he's played at right back and centre back before and defensive mid, so if he can break into the team in one of those 3 positions, but preferably at right back, then we only really have to go sign one starting quality guy, and then he can be the backup.
Yeah, and what I think it's going to happen, you're just going to sign a one right back this season. So then you're going to struggle, and then you're going to be, players going to have fatigue and injuries. So I can't see him having a bit of game time, and then once he has that game time, like Frimpong last year, you make that spot yours, you go out and you challenge for it. And that's what he needs to do.
All right, let's hope that happens because, we've got some promising young guys from, the old Emerald Isle over there that we want to see breaking into the Celtic first team, because that's something I've always seen growing up. I had a couple of close mates who are Celtic fans, Irish, and it's always been, oh, you see Robbie Keane, you see this guy, you see that, and they rattle off a bunch of guys who are Irish and playing at Celtic, and it's like that connection's always there, and I want to see the next batch break through.
Yeah, and it'll be another couple of years when you see I reckon, the next couple of years. We went through a whole era of not producing good, well, they are good players, but if you want to say the likes of Roy Keanes and your Robbie Keanes, and your Damien Duffs, I think that's the next batch, and it's this youth and it's these teens now, and these are going to be the next Irish stars in years to come.
And we've got him at Parkhead, so let's break him into the squad and see how good they look in the hoops.
That's it, 100%.
All right, so thanks for joining us for this podcast, Alan. I really appreciate it. It's been good having a chat to you. You've got your group, you got your Instagram, you've got your TikTok. Give them all a plug.
Give them all. So it's Bucko Lad up on TikTok, BUCKOLAD on TikTok. It's Celtic YNWA on Facebook, and on Instagram it's Celtic __ YNWA. If you search Celtic YNWA, it should pop up.
And anyone on TikTok, make sure you check out Bucko Lad. He does some weird shit on there, like spray tans his face and stuff like that. So You know, you want to see this. It's
Terrible.
disgustingly beautiful, Alan, and I love watching it. So yeah, just everyone give him a follow on there, and yeah, it's been good having a
We'll
chat
be
with you again, Alan.
doing, we'll be doing more challenges like that, a few crazy videos, and then we also talk about Celtic as well. So you have a bit of both, you have a bit of my personal life, and then you also have a bit of Celtic as well. So it's a bit of fun, a bit of both.
Happy days.
Yeah.
That's what we like. Hail, hail, everyone.
Uh-huh.